On the night of December 20th, 1968, on Lake Herman Road, around Benicia city limits, Northern California, two youngsters were having their first date. David Faraday, of 17, had invited Betty Jensen, of 16, to a friend's house that went to a restaurant to finally park his mother's car on a well-known lover's lane. Between 10:30 and 11 p.m., a second car had parked next to them. The driver exited the car and went to the driver's side, and with a gun in his hands ordered the kids to go out. While Faraday was halfway out, he was shot on the head, while Jensen was shot 5 times on the back as she tries to run away and fell 7 meters away from the car. The man got back to his car and drove off. Both kids died. 7 months later, just before midnight of July the 4th, 1969, Darlene Ferring drove Michael McGaugh to Blue Rock Springs Park, just 6 kilometers from the first murder site, and parked. A car drove by and parked next to them, but immediately drove away. After a few more minutes, the car returned and parked behind them. A man exited the car and went to Ferring's car. As he got to the driver's side, he pointed them with a flashlight and almost immediately shot them 5 times each. As he was returning to his car, he heard Michael McGaugh moaning, so he turned back, shot them again twice each, and left. 40 minutes after midnight, on July the 5th, 1969, a man phoned the Vallejo Police Department reporting the attack and claiming responsibility for it. He also claimed responsibility for Faraday's and Jensen's murder 7 months earlier. Police arrived at the scene and found McGaugh alive and conscious. He was able to describe the shooter, a white man around 200 pounds, 6 foot 8 inch tall, with short hair. He survived despite receiving a shot in the neck, head, and face. Ferring died at the hospital. On August 1st, 1969, the killer sent 3 almost identical letters to 3 different newspapers. There, he took credit for both shootings. Each letter also contained 1/3 of a 408 symbol cryptogram in which the killer said contained his identity. The killer demanded these cryptograms to be printed on the front pages of these newspapers, or he will go on a killing spree over the weekend until 12 people were murdered. The messages were printed, but the threat never took place. But the San Francisco Chronicle published again its part of the cryptogram, along with a response from Vallejo Police Chief Jack Stiltz, requesting a second letter with more details to prove that he was the killer. The San Francisco Examiner received a letter on August 7th, 1969, that began with the message, "Dear Editor, this is Zodiac speaking." The killer had identified himself for the first time. He also included another 408 symbol cryptogram and a side note that said that he was collecting slaves for the afterlife, and that he would not give away his identity because it slowed down or stopped his slave collection. The very next day, the cryptogram was cracked. There he stated, "I like killing people. It is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest, because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise, and all the ones I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife." The meaning of the last 18 letters has yet to be determined. On September 27th, 1969, Zodiac struck again. Brian Harnell and Cecilia Shepard were having a picnic at Lake Berryessa. A white man wearing a hoodie with a symbol on his chest that resembled a circle with a cross on top of it and a pair of sunglasses came to them and told them he was a convict that had just escaped jail by killing a guard. He demanded their car and their money, for he was going to Mexico. He told Cecilia to tie Brian, and then he proceeded to tie the young woman. Then he drew a knife and stabbed Shepard 10 times and Hartley 6 times. He went back to the car, which was parked 450 meters away, and carved with the knife the cross circle symbol and the following message. He proceeded to call the police to report a double murder and to claim responsibility. The call was traced to a few blocks from the police station, but he wasn't found. While being attacked, the victim's screams were heard by the people that were close by, who contacted the police. Shepard was conscious when they arrived and was able to give a detailed description of the perpetrator, who then fell into a coma while being transported to the hospital, never to wake up again, and died 2 days later. Hartnell managed to survive. On October 11, 1969, in Presidio Heights in San Francisco, a taxi driver named Paul Steen was murdered. He was shot in the head from the back. The murderer took his wallet, his keys, and a piece of his shirt. 3 teenagers witnessed a man wiping clean a car and called the police. Somehow, the police officers crossed the suspect 2 blocks away and let him go. According to the officer's report, the man they saw had a different description of what the operator told them. The report was a man around 30 years old, 5 foot 9 inches tall. The man they saw was around 40 and 5 foot 10 inches. The real mystery is that the kids reported a white man, but the operator described the man as black. So both officers passed the perpetrator without stopping him. On October 13th, the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter from the Zodiac claiming credit for his killing. And to confirm it, he sent also a piece of Steen's shirt. This is the last confirmed murder. With the help of the 3 boys, a sketch of the killer was made. The result is the famous drawing of the Zodiac Killer. The very next day, the Chronicle received another letter where the Zodiac Killer threatened to kill school children on a bus, stating that just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kids as they come bouncing out. He demanded that 2 very important lawyers appear on a talk show on October the 20th. The lines were open and they were called by someone claiming being the Zodiac, but it was traced to a mental institution. On November 8, 1969, the Zodiac sent a 340-character cipher that remained cryptic for 51 years until December the 5th, 2020. I hope you're having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me in the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner. Because now I have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death. On November 9th, the very next day, he sent a letter. In this letter, he described that the day of Steen's murder, 2 policemen stopped him and spoke with him just 3 minutes after committing the crime. There are some other killings that have been speculated being perpetrated by the Zodiac. Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards on 1963, Cherry Bates, who was stabbed and beaten to death on 1969, Donna Lass, who disappeared on 1970 and a picture of her was sent to the Chronicle in 1971, and the case of Kathleen Johns. Kathleen was driving to her mother's house with her 10-month-old daughter and was 7 months pregnant. Suddenly, a car behind her started to honk the horn and switch the lights. She stopped and a man hopped off the car, saying that one of her wheels was wobbling around and he offered to tighten the bolt nuts. Just as soon as she resumed her drive, the wheel came off. The man offered again to help and take her to the nearest station. For 90 minutes, he drove by several stations and never answered John's questions. When he stopped at an intersection, she jumped off the car and ran into the wilderness. The man left the car and started to search for her with a flashlight, but then gave up and left. She managed to get a ride and went to the closest police station. There, she was given the report to the officer on duty when she saw the Zodiac sketch and recognized him as the man who abducted her and her toddler. When the police returned to her car, it was torched and destroyed. The Zodiac sent many letters afterwards. In 1970, he sent the message, "My name is," with 13 characters yet to be solved. The same year, he claimed credit for Kathleen John's abduction attempt and "I shot a man sitting in a parked car with a .38, claiming credit for the killing of Sergeant Richard Radetich on June 19, among several others. Each of these letters were signed with the score with the numbers of the victims he recorded. After more than 3 years of silence, on 1974, the Zodiac sent his final letter, praising The Exorcist as the best satirical comedy that I have ever seen, and signing with the score of the Zodiac 37, San Francisco Police Department 0. Many different people, over 2,500 actually, have been investigated as the possible suspects, but all have been cleared, having no solid piece of evidence against anyone. The case still remains open, and until this cipher is solved, we will probably never know who the Zodiac Killer was. If you reached this far, please give us a like, consider subscribing, activate notifications, and follow us on social media. Soon, we'll be back with more Inside the Cleft of